Hey Masters Club and Black Belt students, we are ready to work on the kama. This has been the weapon we've been working on every 8 weeks, and what I'm going to do is I'm not going to spend quite so much time on the basics. I will go through some of them just to kind of get started, but I'm going to run through Pinan 1, Pinan 2, and then also the traditional form. So that way, if you've been already working on the kamas, we can try to get you ready for whatever level you want to certify, level 1, 2, or 3. Remember, with all 3 level certifications, you have to, first of all, know basic manipulations and be able to demonstrate self-defense and, of course, free exercise. And that's always required. And then on Pinan 1 is for level 1, and we follow the Trias Tai Chi 2 theory. That Robert Trias passed down to us, taking empty hand forms and being able to translate them with the katas. And then we also do that with Pinan Ni, that's for level 2. And then we always run a traditional form before you can get your patch and fully certify with the weapon. And the name of the kata that we do is Tozan Toyama no Kama. So we're going to go ahead and quickly get started. When we're in class, a lot of times I just have everybody bow with both of them right against the arms. Okay, so I'm going to bow to you since we're going to start our class together. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, one of the first things we need to always make sure everybody can do is just simply being able to flip it out and flip the weapon back. Notice that when I do hold it against my arm, I am holding it tight. A lot of times students will let it go loose, and you never want to do that. You want to make sure it's tight. And then when you flip it out, it's out in this position. Now to do the flip, in case you are new with it, you'll notice most people either hold it with the finger on top or slightly curled. And basically, to go from one position to the other, you move your finger over, you move your thumb over, and then you move the 3 fingers over, and then you flip it out. Now you got a good grip. And then to reverse it, you just do that in reverse. So 3 fingers, thumb, and single finger, and you're back into your original position, okay? If you were going to practice hitting with the end of the weapon, we sometimes do that just for the sake of it, just because we're karate people and we're used to doing straight punches and techniques in a basic mode. So if you step forward and you have your hand out in punching position like this, so we're just like this, you just simply pull one hand back and punch with the other. Make sure that the weapon is always chambered in vertical position. Naturally, we're used to often turning palm up, but of course you don't want to do that with a blade. All right, so you're right here, ready, punch, punch, punch. You could also do a hook punch if you wanted to, ready, itchy, knee, some. You could also do a uppercut type motion, ready, itchy, knee, some. So just with the idea that if you're hitting with the end, you know, you're striking straight, striking with the end of it, that would be what we're just practicing right there. The next thing is, of course, there's several strikes you can do without even flipping the weapon out. We can simply come up like it's an uppercut or an elbow, and you've got the blade right there, and you're coming up. You can do that on both sides. You can also come up, switch it, and come down if you have the ability to flip it out and bring it down, all right? We also sometimes do strikes going from side to side. You can also cut angles. Commonly want to do figure 8 type motions. So you'll notice as I come across one way, you got to flip it back and come back the other way. All right, so you can do that both directions, do it with both hands. You can also do both of them at the same time. So you can see I cut across and then cut back, okay? So you can do all those type of strikes. There's many more, but those are some of the basic ones that most people will use. You can also flip out the weapon. There's all kinds of strikes we can do. Obviously, you can go straight down and do that with either hand. You can go side to side. And of course, all you do is flip the weapon. Make sure you're always behind the weapon when you're striking. But the most common thing is to do a figure 8 type motion, or think of doing an X. So you're just here and you're cutting one direction, cutting back the other direction, and you can do that with either hand. You can do it with both hands together. And you can also do that side to side as well. But one of the main things I try to get everybody used to doing is having one leading as the other is following. Either as 2 strikes, or you're imagining deflecting a weapon as you're striking right afterward. However you want to look at that, or you're just striking and striking. However you're looking at that motion, and you can do that with the figure 8 and side to side real easy. You can do downward type strikes doing the same thing, but you always have to in some way circle it out so that it's not coming straight at you. Always want to make sure you're behind the blade, never having the blade coming at you. All right, so keep that in mind. Of course, you can also do strikes this way, just like when we had a flip. You can be here, and you can also go across just like this, okay? So those are all some of the basics that we quickly covered. We did the first 2 or 3 weeks when we were having classes in the dojo. So I know most of you are comfortable with those type of things. So let's go ahead and go through some of the Trias Tai Chi 2 theory if you were about ready to run Pinan Shodan or Pinan Nidan. So the first thing is just the 3 high blocks. The first basic way of doing a high block is simply just raising it and keeping it right against your arm. Imagine the attack's coming in and you're simply blocking with this lower section. And then you just cross the arms, but don't cross it as much as you naturally would with your empty hands. But you're just simply doing the high block type motion here. All right, so that's the first way. The second way is you flip it out. Now remember, when you have it flipped out, the weapon is what's protecting you, not your arm. So you don't want to do this. You want the weapon above your head. Now when we have the weapon closed in, blade in, then of course you keep it, above your arm because that's what's protecting you. But now that you have the weapon out, then of course you want the weapon above your head. So you're here, and you just simply alternate, putting one out, and the other comes back in, okay? So that's the second way. Third way is you do both. You flip it out like you're blocking, striking, deflecting, whatever. Commonly we're thinking that we're deflecting it out of the way. And then you just bring it back almost like a cover, or to stop someone from getting a second strike in, is kind of the idea. So you're just here, you have a blade out, and then you just flip it. You do a blade out, and then you just flip it, okay? So that's the first way with the high blocks. Now with the middle blocks, they're identically the same. So you're here, now again, make sure the weapon is out. When we think of a middle block, often in karate, we're thinking palm in. But in this case, you need to think more like knife hand, because you need the weapon on the outside of your arm to protect. Now if you were doing a forearm block, that would be different. But if you're doing a traditional middle block, or the concept of a middle block, then you're here and you've got to turn the weapon out so as to deflect their weapon. Same thing, you're here, you're doing a blade out type motion. That was the second way. And the third way, once again, you do a blade out and then you return the blade while it's already in position. So you go blade out and you return it just like this, okay? So those are the 3 ways to do high blocks and middle blocks for when you do the Trias Tai Chi 2 with Pinan Shodan and Nidan. The last way is the low blocks. Now the low blocks, traditionally, all there is to a low block is simply you usually raise your leg as you do the block. You're trying to get your leg out of the way. The theory is that someone has a longer weapon, often we say samurai with a sword, and you don't want your foot to stay there, so you're getting it out of the way. And so that's normally, in most traditional forms, that's normally what you'll see, is just simply stepping out of the way and doing a low block, or even just raising the leg and doing a low block and you put the blade out there. But in the Trias Tai Chi 2 theory, we actually do a 3-step process. So every time you do a low block with Pinan Shodan or Nidan, you do the low block just like you normally know it, keeping it blade in. Then you do the blade out motion, and then you do the blade in again. So you do 3 steps. 1, 2, and 3. Again, 1, 2, and 3. Good. So let me go ahead and put the other foot forward, and let's try that. So here we are. 1, 2, and 3. Trying that again. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So just to give you the idea there. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and run. Oh, one other thing that I sometimes cover, you can always do cross blocks up high, you can do cross blocks down low. Okay? And then when we do Pinan Shodan, there's no requirement as to how you start in the kata per se. Now, one of the things that I do is because when we're running the kata, we do a school seal at the beginning and end of every kata. So because of that, I tend to take the weapon and display it. Because the school seal means I have karate as my weapon, I don't have any weapons. So instead, I am demonstrating that I have a weapon. You don't technically have to do that. You could actually just bow, start the kata, and you'd be good to go. Okay, so there's no requirement there. But it's something I like to do, and there's no specific way you have to do it. I tend to like to bring the blades this way. Some people like to cross them, do some different things. If you were in competition, it might be a nice thing to kind of add in there, but it's not necessary, it's not a requirement. The other thing is, don't forget that every time you do a double low block, the theory is you're supposed to raise your legs, so then you're supposed to jump up in the air, do that double low block, and block again. We never want to require someone to do it. There's no self-defense reason to lift both legs up as you're doing that block. But some people like to do it again for competition or show, or if you love working those little extras and you're athletic in that way that you want to try that, that's fine. But we also don't want to risk our students who might have bad knees or bad backs or anything like that and having to jump up and do that kind of motion. But if you want to step out in Pinan 1, do the double O block, and jump up in the air to do that, that's fine. But it's not required. Most of the time you'll see I just bow, I go into a get ready stance, and we're good to go. All right, so that's just a couple little notes. All right, let's go ahead and do Pinan Shodan together. Pinan Shodan, and since we're doing it with the weapon, we'd say Pinan Shodan no kama. All right, so let's go ahead and give that a try. Pinan Shodan no kama. And then remember, with every punch, you should do a blade out motion and return. Now remember, with the 3 punches, you only have to do the blade out motion on the last punch. Anytime there's a series of punches, you only have to do the blade out on the last punch, but you can do it on every punch. Double knife hands, you're here, you can be here, you can have one blade out, you can have both blades out. You can also flip them out and return, however you want to do that. All right, so number 2. And then once again, ending the kata, Pinan Shodan no kama. All right, so hopefully that'll help you out as you're training or practicing at home. If you have any questions, please just shoot me a text or add a question onto the YouTube, and naturally I'll try to answer it as easily as possible or as quickly as possible. Pinan Nidan is basically the same idea, but remember, with the Trios Tai Chi 2 theory, it was really set up for very simple katas. So as you get into Pinan 2 and beyond, there's a lot of movements in it that don't really apply to the Trios Tai Chi 2 theory. So the theory at that point would be just emulate the kata as best as you can. So in the opening movements of Pinan 2, if you just go here, 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 there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. You don't even have to flip the weapon out. If you want to put a little more to it, I a lot of times like to alternate my flips as I do those opening motions, okay? I try to imagine what I'm doing with the weapon that's similar to the idea of how I'd be doing it with Pinan 2 itself, and simulate the idea. The only thing I ask is, with the spear hand, no matter what weapon we're working, always treat that, whatever the rule is for a punch, go ahead and do the motion, or the requirement in this case, a blade out motion when you get to that spear hand. And it's just simply because when you're in graduation, it's the only time I get to see the punch towards me. And Pinan 2, the other 2 punches, you've got your back to me, and and also that movement is with a ki. It seems like it should have a finishing type movement to it. So that's why I go ahead and ask everybody to always treat the spear hand, just whatever the punch requirement is, go ahead and add that requirement. But technically, it doesn't have to be that way, okay? If you're doing it for competition, you don't want to do it that way, that's fine. But just for graduation, I do require that or ask that. And but otherwise, the rest of the kata, just simulate the motions as best as you can. So I will give you a version of it. Again, there can be some variation to this. It doesn't have to be exactly the way I'm running it. I've had some questions about when you do the double knife hinge and you flip out the blade, do you have to chamber the blade every time? I don't always. I do always usually chamber the blade when I change direction, okay? So that's kind of a little rule of thumb I go with. Anytime I'm done with the attacker or changing a new direction, I always flip them back in. And I think that follows the integrity of the Trias Tai Chi 2 theory. All right, so let's go ahead and do Pinan Nidan together. So here we go, Pinan Nidan, no kama. Once again, displaying the weapon, and we're here. Once again, if you want to do the double low block, you can, but since I'm starting to get ready stance, I step back into the wide back. Now here is a basic punch, so you should do a blade out motion. Then remember, this is a traditional middle block, so you should pick one of the three that we taught you. And that also is a punch. With a reinforced block, there's a lot of variations that you can do there. Remember, this is a traditional low block, so do all three steps. This is a high block, so pick the one you want. And that's Pinan Nidan, all right? Any questions? We'll put it on YouTube. I can't hear you. Stop talking, okay? You got to put it on YouTube. I can't hear you. All right, let's have a little fun with this, all right? I know this is really awkward doing this home dojo thing, but we'll do the best we can with it. And by the way, just keep practicing. When you come back to the dojo, we're going to realize that you would have normally been in classes. If you already have a pattern of being in classes, we're going to count that. And if you've been practicing at home, we're going to count that. And then we'll just try to fix whatever mistakes you might be making and try to help you graduate as quickly as possible and keep things moving, okay? So I know sometimes we put some class requirements and such. We're going to have a little flexibility with that to help you out, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, let's go ahead and do the kata, the traditional form. It's called Tozan Toyama no Kama. All right, so Tozan Toyama no Kama. I'm going to run this a couple of different directions. I'll probably run it once facing this way and once a different direction. So it's hopefully that if you don't see something, you'll be able to see it. I'm not going to explain it, but I will run it slow. Okay, so hopefully those of you who are at least somewhat familiar with it and trying to get it down. If you need some explanation or questions answered again, just let me know. I'll be happy to help you. All right, so Tozan Toyama no Kama. Notice this time there's two of them. Sorry. Tozan Toyama no Kama. Alright, let me go ahead and pick a different direction. I'm going to try this way. I think this will work out pretty well, where you'll be able to see everything. So we'll go ahead and give that a try. Tosan, Toyama, no Kama. So there it's the right foot steps back. I don't know why I did it differently a few moments ago. Tosan, Toyama, no Kama. And that pretty well completes our class for today. Keep practicing. Remember the biggest key to getting very efficient with weapons is to learn to play with them a little bit. Take the knowledge that you have and then experiment a little bit. That's how you get better at it. There is one thing that some people like to learn is how to do this little routine that I like to do. And if you learn this routine, believe it or not, you'll find it's easier than this flipping. When you're here and you go flip it out, pull it back, that actually takes a lot of work, at least for the fingers and everything. And it's a little awkward. So one of the things that you can learn to do is this little flip, and what that does is it allows momentum to take the work away. And so let's go ahead and start with the outer position. The key is first learn to do this circle. Okay, and you do see that I kind of release just a little bit. I'm holding on with the thumb and the big finger, and I have to kind of relax the grip a little bit to do this well. And then what you do is, as you're going here, see those three fingers, as you're doing that flip, just like we taught you how you have to move those three fingers over, well, you're just kind of doing that. You're moving them as it flips, and the three fingers get right in the way, and then you're right here. All right, so maybe so you can see that again. You just simply there. Let me come in a little closer in case you're having trouble seeing this. There, okay? Then when you go to flip it out, what happens is you're using the weight of the weapon. So you flip it out, you drop it over, and then you allow those three fingers to come underneath, and then you're right here. So let me demonstrate that again. You go out, over, three fingers, and come around. And when you learn to speed that up, then it looks real pretty. Alright, so see how it just goes out, in, and flips around. I'll go ahead and turn around so that maybe you can see this from a different angle. So it goes out, in, flip it around, okay? So maybe that'll help you. And then all I'm doing is, when you're seeing the whole thing, is I do both parts. I do the circle, chamber, out, in, flip it around, and when you put all that together, that's where you get this little pretty routine, okay? But it really is, it's just actually easier to chamber most of the time doing that. You'll find I don't know, it's somehow it just seems easier. I can't really describe why. It's just this and this for me. You know, I've practiced it hundreds, thousands and thousands of times probably, and it works fine, but it always seems like it lacks momentum in its movement. This gives you some momentum, but it might be a more higher risk movement too. So I don't know, but I like to work different ways of doing things, so that's hopefully a little hint for you. You guys have a wonderful day. I really do miss having you in classes. This is really different, teaching classes here in an empty room, but I'm just going to do the best I can. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you're doing your best. I know we're all adapting, but let's have fun with it and just smile and go on. All right, Kyosuke, ready? You have a great day. See you in class soon.